A pleasant day, my fellow classmates, and especially to our dear subject teacher, Mr. Joshua Aaron Pagulayan. So, these previous weeks, we already discussed about the Western Asia and Egypt, Indus civilization, as well as India and China. And supposedly this week we will discuss about the other presentation of my other classmates. So today we flew away from the second largest continent in the world, which is Africa. So specifically about the early civilization that emerged there before. But first, I want you to play a game. This game is just a trivia game or icebreaker, in which it serves as a little highlight about what I'm going to discuss later on. So, I call this game, What's Your Pick in the Set of Picks? So, in here, I have two given questions that you need to answer in just 5 seconds. So, you just need to pick one picture among the set of pictures that will appear to your screen. So, you need to answer it just 5 seconds, and you will guess what is the correct answer. So, without further ado, let's start this game. So, for the first question, aside from gold, which of the following pictures is a highly desired item in the Kingdom of Ghana's economy and trade, and still the most valuable today of Africans? So, pick number 1, salt. Is it pick number 2, oil? Or is it pick number 3, cola nuts? So what's your pick in the set of picks? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Time is up. So here's the second question. Which of the following features of desert animals was first domesticated by nomadic people whose caravan became known as the fleets of the desert? Is it pick number 1, the desert bighorn sheep? Is it pick number 2, the desert African elephant? Or is it pick number 3, camel? So what's your pick in the set of picks? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Time's up. So as I said earlier, these two questions will serve as a bit highlight of our discussion that I will be discussed later on. So for now, just keep your answer and just listen attentively all throughout this video presentation, and you will see if your answer is correct or not. So much for that. So now let us proceed to the actual presentation. So but first, I would like to introduce myself first. Hello, my name is Brendth Constantino, signing in as your reporter for today, for the topic entitled Early African Civilizations. So now, before I proceed to my report, I would like to show you the learning objectives that you need to take note after the discussion. So, let me read it first. Learning objectives. After the discussion, the students should be able to: first, identify the significant events in the history of the early African civilizations. Second, observe the geographical impact, influence towards civilizations developed, and how the early Africans survived. Third, exhibit an in-depth understanding about the events occurred during the period of 2000 BC to AD 1500. Specifically the early African civilization, which still have impact to the present time. And fourth, relate trends, issues, current events derived from the history of Africans' emergence and culture. So after the learning objectives, we will now go to the discussion or the topics to be discussed. And topics to be discussed are composed or divided into 3 parts. So for the part 1, development of civilization in Africa, which compose of the impact of geography, and later on we will discuss about the land in Africa and the land of Africa. So, the land of Africa and the climate of Africa. So, second, the emerging civilization and the rise of Islam. So for the part 2, we have the kingdoms and states in Africa. And we will talk about the Kingdom of Ghana, the Kingdom of Mali, the Kingdom of Songhai, societies in East Africa, and also the state and stateless societies in South Africa. And last but not the least, part 3, African society and culture. Aspects of African society, religious beliefs in Africa, and also African culture will be discussed later on. So now, let's proceed to the part 1 of this report. Part 1. The development of civilization in Africa. So, as we know, Africa is the second largest continent in the world after Asia. So, Africa include a very dazzling array of landforms, rich mountains, river basins, and deep canyons. So when it comes to climate, it is region to region, like a mild climate zone which is very suitable for farming, and to rainforest and semi-arid climate. So in this case, both climate and the landforms will be the key factor who plays an important role that influence the lifestyle of the people living in Africa, as well as the early civilizations, or how it affects the early civilizations before. So now we will talk about the impact of geography, where the land and the climate of Africa was included. So the impact of geography, the land of Africa. So let me read it first, and to be followed by further discussion or further informations about this. So the land of Africa. After Asia, Africa is the largest of the continents. It stretches nearly 5,000 miles, around 8,000 kilometers, and is almost completely surrounded by 2 oceans and 2 seas. As diverse as it was, Africa includes several distinct geographical zones. The northern fringe on the coast, washed by the Mediterranean Sea, is mountainous along much its length. South of the mountains lies the largest desert on Earth, the Sahara, which stretches from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean. So, the land of Africa, so I said earlier, the land of Africa, or the continent of Africa, is the second largest continent in the world after Asia. So we as a normal people outside of Africa, we're also always thinking in this kind of mindset that the land of Africa was very dry, lack of landforms, lack of different forms that we see in other countries. But we are all wrong, because the land of Africa was very rich when it comes to its landforms, and holistically speaking, its landforms plays a very vital role in terms of the historical events that happened in Africa. So, like the Sahara Desert. So, Sahara Desert is the largest desert in the world, which can be found in Africa. So, aside from it, Sahara Desert became the traveling route or the trading route, where the people or the traders, along with their camels carrying the goods, crossing the desert underneath the sun for having hot temperature, just to go, or just to reach their destination. So, Sahara Desert is one of the example of the landforms that Africa would like to be proud of, because aside from its very large scope of large area, it plays a vital role in their history when it comes to trading. So we have here the Nile River. So Nile River is known as the heart of the ancient Egyptian civilization. So this is another one who plays a vital role when it comes to the history of Africa. So we have the Red Sea. So Red Sea, as we know, Red Sea separate Africa and Asia. So it's basically, or specifically speaking, you can see, if you want to observe it in the map, it lies between the country of Saudi Arabia and the country in Africa like Egypt, Ethiopia, so and and Nubia. So I think Nubia. So it is lies between the Red Sea will lies between the those countries in which it separates the Africa and Asia. So Red Sea is also one of the places where trading and also the Muslim merchants before um, um, became one of this place as a coast of their trading before. So I will discuss it later on about the trading of the kingdoms where Red Sea will be included. So now let us move on um to the after the south after south or after the south of Africa, or after the south of the Sahara Desert. It was divided into distinct number of regions. So first we have in the west, it is called the Hump of Africa. So let's read it first. In the west is the so-called Hump of Africa, which just like a massive shoulder into the Atlantic Ocean. A large part of the Hump of Africa is made of the Sahara Desert, bordered to the north by the Atlas Mountains and to the south by the Sahel region, a semi-arid transition zone between the desert and savanna. Here, the Sahara gradually gives way to grasslands and the interior then to tropical jungles along the coast. So, the Hump of Africa. So, Hump of Africa refers to the northwestern protrusion of the continent that extending from the country of Niger, Algeria, and Nigeria. So, and up to the Atlantic coast. So, it is called as the Hump of Africa because, as you can see, it looks like a round semicircle shape and having a resemblance of the camel's back or the camel's hump. So when against the camel's hump, it is a camel's back. So if you can see in the pictures, the picture map that is attached to the slide, you can see is the shape of a camel's back that pointing up from the Guinea to Cameroon. But so on, this the Hump of Africa was very historical before because it is the time where the kingdoms the kingdoms lies. So this place was very important for the Africans. So because the kingdoms there and the kingdoms in this place emerged before. So after the Hump of Africa, we have the Great Rift Valley. So the Great Rift Valley is where the mountains loom over deep canyons. So much of this region is grassland, populated by the wild animals. So this is so-called Great Rift Valley, the most well-known rift valley on Earth, which stretches from the Middle East in the north to Mozambique in the south. So the area is geologically active and features volcanoes, hot springs, geysers, and frequent earthquakes. So, Great Rift Valley serves an important role in the development in Africa because Great Rift Valley is a system that characterizes the continent's perfect environment in the evolution of mankind. So, when it comes to paleoanthropological discoveries in Ethiopia, Uganda, Zaire, and many more that were the discoveries of early mans. The Great Rift Valley serves and code us as the cradle of mankind because this is the place where the human development starts, and also the development where the evolution, the kinds of revolution where they actually survive, the naging ano yung kanilang mga buhay dito, naging yung way of life mismo nila, mismo ditong nag-umusbong. And also, Great Rift Valley serves as one of the most well-known place in Africa in which it discovers many early human bodies. So much for that. So we have the Congo River. So Congo River is the tropical rainforest of this area fade gradually into the hills, plateaus, relatively high flatland areas, and desert of the south. So Congo River, surrounded by the Congo Basin. So Congo Basin is not just a forest. It is where the tribes stays, and they stayed because they want the climate, and they are surviving. They're surviving out of the other places where the climate is not suitable for them. So those tribes staying in the Congo River, the Congo Basin, found this place more suitable for them just to survive. So it's not just a Congo River, the Congo Basin, but also a place where a human and some development before in Africa still continue, or still the place to where the life of the tribes, or the life of the early humans is still into this place. So after I after the land of Africa, let's move on to the climate of Africa. So the climate of Africa includes 4 distinct climate zones. So these climate zones includes the following: first, the mild climate zone; second, the deserts; third, the rainforest; and the fourth, the savannas. So this helped explain the lifestyle of people living there in Africa. So in first, mild climate zone. So mild climate zone, it stretches from the northern part to the southern tip of Africa, in which it has a mild climate, is a moderate rainfall and warm temperature. So it results to the fertile land, which can be found, or which can be which is good for crops, and these crops supports the large population in Africa. So second, we have the deserts. So as we know, deserts is a kind of climate that is very hot. So that's why one of the example of this is the Sahara Desert, which is the largest desert on earth. So along with Kalahari Desert, which is the second largest desert in Africa. So it is about the 40% of Africa was covering up the entire continent. So we have the rainforest. So rainforest is to one of the climate zone, or the climate that cover up the 10%, that cover up the 10% of Africa's continent. So in this climate zone, people experience have rainfall and warm temperature, which is good for little for farming and little for traveling is possible. But unfortunately, it is the home of disease carrying insects. That's why many people who live there, or the early humans, and also up to this day, don't want to raise animals, because they know that these animals will carry diseases, bacteria in their community, in their place. So we have savanna. Last one, savanna. So savanna is a kind of climate zone that it has enough rainfall. So enough rainfall that's suitable for farming and herding animals. But unfortunately, the rain in savanna is unreliable, because it is the unreliable rainfall results to a not good vegetation, and not good for growing plants, and also it destroys, or it is not suitable for the field and for the crop. So that's why it is not still unreliable up to this day when it comes to the enough rainfall that in savanna was getting. So if you can see in the pictures in the slide, you can see the actual map of Africa. You can see the different layers of climate where the countries the different climates in the countries. So we have the red one at the top, which is the desert. So second, we have the orange one, which is the mild climate. So, and we have the light orange, which is for the So, for the grassland, and for the green one that you can see is the rainforest. So much for the land and climate of Africa. But if you noticed, both land and the climate of Africa was included here in this topic, even though this topic was for is for about the early African civilization. But so that I come up to this kind of question: how did the impact of African's geography affects its development of civilization? So simple as that. The geography in Africa shapes the history and the development of the culture and civilization in ancient Africa. So the geography impact where the people live, and also the way the people trading sources, the trade routes. So the trade routes that became na important role before. So trading routes for the civilizations to interact and develop. So for example, this is the Sahara Desert. So it compasses both the land and the climate. So Sahara Deserts became the trading route before, where the traders are traveling across the very hot desert underneath the sun, so having the hot temperature. So Sahara Desert placed as the landforms in Africa, while the climate is the hot temperature, so it both encompasses here. So both of them really have the impact of the development of civilization before. So without Sahara Desert, without this kind of climate, the development of civilizations will not the development of trading will not take place, because Sahara Desert is one of the place where the trading route of many people takes place. So now, after it, we have the emergence of civilization and rise of Islam. So after 7 to 8 years ago, the hunters and gatherers began to tame animals, and also how to tame animals and grow crops. Then after that, after growing crops, the mastery of farming, the agricultural revolution. The agricultural revolution takes place, in which it rised as the first African civilization in the Africa. So it includes the Egypt, which is the kingdom of Kush and the kingdom of Aksum, and much later on, the religion of Islam takes place, which brought a lot of challenge to the development of the civilization. So first, we need to talk about the kingdom of Kush. So Kush, the legendary kingdom of Kush, with its capitals in what is now northern Sudan, helped define the cultural and political landscape of northeastern Africa for more than 1,000 years. So Kush was a part of Nubia, which stretched from the Upper Nile to the Red Sea. So Kush, before, the Egyptian merchants traveled along the Nubia. So Nubia was under control by the Egyptians, but later on, it was freed as the kingdom of Kush conquered the Egypt. So after that, we have the Koscites. So the Koscites were still using bronze and stone weapons until they were overwhelmed by the Assyrians, who were armed with iron spears and swords. So this person, driven out from Egypt after the Kush conquered the land of Egypt, they driven out of it, and they start to go to their original land, which is the upper Nile Valley. So in that case, they are still driven out. So the economy, when it comes to the economy of Kush, it was first in farming. Then Kush start to emerge, and as they start to emerge, they are very rich or very blessed when it comes to the supply of iron ore. So driven by the Assyrians, so yung smelting, or having the idea of melting of iron ore, the Kushites having the opportunity to make weapons and tools made of iron. So for the next several hundred years, Kush was a major trading empire with links to other states throughout the region. So Kush provided in iron products and goods from Central and Eastern Africa to the Roman Empire, as well to Arabia and India. Other major exports were ivory, gold, ebony, and slaves. So, as these iron products or iron goods was made from the Koscites, they were given opportunity. They were given a reward, but a golden lamp from the ancient Arabia, and of course the luxury goods. So they're given because they are the one responsible for creating the iron products in the kingdom of Kush. So they are being rewarded. So after that, there's no we have there's no known information about the Kushite society, as well as some of them are living in the urban, and the kingdom of Kush was more on the more on prospered of material possession like the iron products and the ivory trade. When it comes to ivory trade, they are very rich on that. So if who wonder about the kingdom, was the king of the kingdom of Kush, it is the King Pie or Pianki. So Pie was an ancient Kushites king and the founder of the 25th dynasty of Egypt, who ruled Egypt from 744 to 714 BC. So he ruled from the city of Napata, located deep in Nubia, modern-day Sudan. So he became the king of Kush before. So as he conquered the land of Egypt, he also became the king of Egypt, or the dynasty of Egypt before. So King Pie or Pianki became the kingdom of Kush. So after that, kingdom of Kush suddenly flourished. Mean to say they began to collapse. And another states in the region emerged, which is the kingdom of Aksum. So the kingdom of Aksum was founded by the Arabs by the upper Arabian Peninsula. So these Arabians, or this kingdom of Aksum was combination of both Arab and African culture. So just like kingdom of Kush, they are into trading. So includes exporting goods and importing goods. So if you wonder why kingdom of Kush was been flourished, it is because of Aksum, the kingdom of Aksum. Because before, the kingdom of Aksum and the kingdom of Kush have this kind of competition over the control in the ivory trade. So in that case, the King Azana launched an invasion to the kingdom of Kush, and it was conquered and defeated. So that's why the kingdom of Aksum became the kingdom who dominated becomes the ivory trade. So who is King Azana of King of Aksum? So King Azana is active early to middle 4th century, was an Ethiopian king during the Aksumite period. His reign marked a turning point in Ethiopian history because Christianity became the state religion when he became the first Christian king. So King Azana was mentioned, the first Christian king. So for you, if you're wondering why he became a Christian, it is because when he was a child, he has a tutor who was Assyrian Christian who called as Frumentius. So Frumentius is the one who converted him to Christian, and as he converted to Christian, he made some coins. And he putting some cross on it, and spreading all throughout the kingdom. So he want Christianity will be the official religion of the kingdom of Aksum. So in that case, it happens. The Christianity become the official religion in the kingdom of Aksum. So after King Azana died, the kingdom of Aksum also flourished. So as a flourishing kingdom like the kingdom of Kush before. So it is because of the new force of religion, which gives challenges to the development and the kingdom of Aksum. It is the rise of Islam. So the rise of Islam incoming of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula had an impact on neighboring areas. So in 641, Arab forces took control of Egypt. So by the early 8th century, the entire coastal region of North Africa, as far west as the Strait of Gibraltar, was under Arab rule. So in the rise of Islam, the Christian Aksum and the Islamic merchants, or the Islamic religion, Islamic people, have a good relationship, a peaceful relationship before. But then, it 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 end up to a conflict, a growing conflict between them, because this Muslim, or this Islam merchants wants to gain control over that ivory trade, which, as we know, Kingdom of Aksum was very dominated this kind of trade before, as they fought it, or as they gain conflict against the Kingdom of Kush before, because of ivory trade. So as the Muslim states they want to gain control over this ivory trade, the Kingdom of Aksum began to become a flourishing kingdom. So that's what we all for the part 1, which is the development of civilization in Africa. So now let's move on to the part 2, which is the kingdoms and states in Africa. So as the African civilization developed, great trading states arose, and traveling across the deserts and over the Indian Ocean, traders help the other people, or help their people to become rich and powerful. But trading is not only to transfer the ivory, the valuable merchandise, and gold, and other things that is valuable for them, but also it transferred the spread of religion, the culture, the language, and new ideas. So first, let us talk about the first kingdom in this part, which is the Kingdom of Ghana. So let me read it first. So, Kingdom of Ghana, this is the first great trading state in West Africa. Emerged as early as AD 500, and the Kingdom of Ghana was located in the upper Niger River Valley, a grassland region between the Sahara and the tropical forests along the West African coast. So most of the people in the area were farmers, living in village under the authority of a local ruler. So together the villages formed the Kingdom of Ghana. So basically the farmers, the villages inside of it, in that place, are the one who formed the Kingdom of Ghana. So for when it comes to the kings of Ghana were very powerful, very rich, but there's no rule. There's no any rule. But in the case for the security of the kingdom, and for their ones, they have thousands of army, thousands of men that will for the safeguard of the safety of their kingdom. So when it comes to economic and trade and Kingdom of Ghana, it was still prospered when it comes to the possession of ivory and gold. So when it comes to ivory and gold, so in the place, the gold was the highest, or the dominant thing for the part of the Kingdom of Ghana. So in that case, the Muslim merchants before going in this kingdom, and also they are exporting, or they're exporting some materials, or valuable materials in this kingdom. So in the place, salt is one of the most highly desired item in the kingdom, or in the economic and trade of Kingdom of Ghana, because in the Kingdom of Ghana, salt, or for the Ghanaians, salt is the most important thing for them, as it's need to preserve food. It is also for the another taste, or another flavorings for the food, and also it is much needed for the people to regain, or to gain their to gain the salts, that they need for their loss due to the hot climate. So after this, what we call the trading in Kingdom of Ghana can be called as the silent trade. So what is a silent trade? So silent trade is where the Muslim merchants are first it has a boundary in which it is not known, or it's a secret boundary in which the Muslim merchants, and when the Muslim merchants reach out this boundary, they will be able to put the merchandise in the ground, and they will leave it until the Ghanaians, or the people in the kingdom of Ghana, will be able to, bearing some gold, will be able to put a gold in it, so, and will leave it. So after that, the merchants was still satisfied to the gold that they found. They will be satisfied. So if not satisfied, they will leave it. So that's why in the people in Ghana return and add for the price of a gold, for to satisfied or to end the bargain as concluded. So in this case, ours also, much of the trade across the desert was carried by the Berbers. So these Berbers, so these Berbers, um, these Berbers were carried by the was along with the camels. So Berbers before, so they are the ones who carried the trade across this desert. So the nomadic peoples whose camel caravans became known as the fleets of the desert. So camels is the fleets of the desert before. So they're the one who carried goods together with the Berbers. So in this case, this became the camels was the first domesticated animal in which it is used to the hot climate. So, for your information, the hot climate, the camel in the hot climate, under the hot climate, the Berbers and the camels, or this trading was take place about 40 to 60 days before they reach their destination. So imagine it was very long before they go to the exact destination. So after this antithetical caravan, the trading merchants of Ghana often became wealthy. So kings prospered too, because they imposed taxes on goods on the tax and goods entered or left in the kingdom. But after that, the kingdom of Ghana began also to flourish because of weakened by wars, and it collapsed in about 1100s. And because of that, another kingdom, or another number of states, another states in the region arise, which is the kingdom of Mali. Which the kingdom of Mali was founded by Sundiata Keita. So Sundiata Keita is one of the founder of this kingdom, which is called as the founder of his nation, of his city. So who is Sundiata Keita? So Sundiata Keita has this disability. He was a disability when he was a kid, and he can't walk. So there's a blacksmith who made him a brace to support his legs, and after that it was a painful process for the part of him to walk, but eventually or gradually he learned how to walk. So after his half brother became the ruler, he and her mother fled, and he became the headman of the village. So in that case, the kingdom of Susu, another neighboring kingdom of the kingdom of Mali, arrived, and all of them killed, or this kingdom of Susu killed his half brother. So because of that, of anger, he marched to the kingdom of Susu and killed their king. So imagine how brave and courageous he is. So because of that, because of the bravery and courageous, he became the ruler, or became the Mansa of Mali. Mansa, which means king. It means king. So he becomes the Mansa of Mali. So much for that, for Sundiata Keita, because after Sundiata Keita, for having a very maintained its wealth and power in Mali, here we go. We have Mansa Musa. So who is Mansa Musa? So Mansa Musa was the ruler of the kingdom of Mali from 1312 to CE to 1337 CE. So during his reign, Mali was one of the richest kingdoms of Africa, and Mansa Musa was among the richest individuals in the world, and also he acquired the most part of his wealth from the production and trade of salt and gold. So more than half of the world's supply at the time, in fact. So Mansa Musa, when we say Mansa is a king, so King Musa is the continued the expansion or doubling up the size of Mali by dividing the kingdoms into provinces by governors who he appointed. So in his case, Mansa Musa in his time, the value of gold was very cheap. It's not expensive, so it the value of gold before in his time fall. So some people said that his 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 reign, as he became the leader, it was a very he gained a great image to a lot of people. So because of that, he became one of the later on he was became the most powerful and most richest man, richest kingdom or richest king in his time. So it became the and before one of this legacy is not he if the early early kings converted into Islam, he first once he established mosque, and he hires the architectures to build mosque that he had seen in the Cairo and Arabia. So it was um it was the fact that it proves that Mansa Musa became the one of the last powerful ruler in the kingdom of Mali, because after that the civil in the year 1350, and if I'm not mistaken, 1350, he was the civil war. The civil war started, and the kingdom of Mali began to flourish. So because of that, a kingdom or another state of region again sprouted, which is the kingdom of Songhai. So the kingdom of Songhai was founded or was first ruled by what we called it the kingdom of Songhai called it by what we called it I this is in that in what we call the Dai dynasty. So Dai dynasty, after the Dai dynasty, we have Sunni Ali. So Sunni Ali having the dynasty he created, which is a Sunni dynasty. So what is the kingdom of Songhai? So the kingdom of Songhai Empire was the largest and the last of the three major pre-colonial empires to emerge in West Africa. So from its capital of Gao on the Niger River, Songhai expanded in all direction until it stretched from the Atlantic Ocean, the modern Senegal and Gambia, to what is now northern West Nigeria and central Niger. So the kingdom of Songhai was ruled by Sunni Ali. So Sunni Ali spending his time reigning as host horseback riding and leading an army. And also he conquests two Timbuktu and Jin, which is one of the most important place for him, as it helps Songhai to control when it comes to trading, which is a trade of salt and trade of salt and gold, which is became the dominant part of the two previous kingdom, which is the kingdom of Ghana and the kingdom of Mali. So as the kingdom of Songhai attained or achieved its high peak when Muhammad Muhammad um when Muhammad Ture became their leader. So who is Muhammad Ture? So Muhammad Ture, he was known as the Askia the Great. So was an emperor, military commander, and political reformer of the Songhai Empire in the late 15th century. So he was from the Soninke ethnic group. So he was also the one who founded the Askia dynasty of the West African Songhai Empire. So in this case, they became one of the he continued to expand the kingdom of Shanghai by dividing the the kingdom into provinces. So in his time, um, so in his time, after Muhammad Ture's reign, Songhai began to collapse also. So it became to collapse the period of slow decline. So as the state of Morocco start to conquer their land. So the place which is very peaceful, full of security, it's nabalot siya ng danger. So the danger dominates, and also it dominates about the disasters, the distress and violence. So now, after we discuss about the three empires in West Africa, so let's move on to the societies in East Africa. So the societies in East Africa. So societies in Africa, we have the migration of the Bantus. So the migration of the Bantus, so new peoples began to migrate in Eastern Africa from the west. So forming peoples whose spoke dialects of the Bantus language. So family of language began to move from the region of the Niger River into East Africa and Congo River. So there are the Bantus, or they migrate in which they have the Bantus language, and they are not into invasion. So they're not into invading, but they are into subsistence of farming. They're planting crops for their personal needs and not for sale. So during that time, women and men have different kinds of as they migrate, women and men have different responsibilities. So women perform different tasks like caring for their children, while men is for trading, herding animals, and also yung trading when it comes to their basic necessities and the commodities, like still in the terms of salt and gold, salt and animal products and etc. That will for them to, as they migrate, they will be able still to survive. So after the migration of the Bantus, we have the Indian Ocean trade and ports too. Let me read it first. With the growth in the regional trade following the rise of Islam during the 7th and 8th centuries AD, the eastern coast of Africa became the important part of the trading network along the Indian Ocean. So beginning in the 8th century, Muslims from the Arabian Peninsula and the Persian Gulf began to settle at ports along the coast. So the result was the formation of a string of trading ports that included Mogadishu, Mombasa, and Kilwa in the south. So, but among these three, Kilwa is one of the richest and powerful place, because so according to Ibn Battuta. So who is Ibn Battuta? So Ibn Battuta is a traveler. So as he traveled in the Kilwa, he said that Kilwa is one of the most richest and powerful place he have ever seen. And but then, unfortunately, Kilwa's splendid place became a disaster after the Portuguese ended his job. So Kilwa became abandoned after it was been destroyed. Destroyed. The buildings, the different infrastructures in that place were destroyed by the Portuguese. So it been a hard time for them, or a hard time for the hard time to imagine that the Kilwa that became one of the string was being ruined by the Portuguese. So Swahili, there's a language, or the African Arabian culture, eventually known as Swahili. Swahili became well known. So this is a ruling groups. So Swahili means coast in Arabic. So it is also called the people of the coast. So Swahili is the combination of language in which some of the Arabic phrase and words can be heard in this language. So it became one of the language still in the town of Tanzania and the country of Tanzania and Kenya. So after the societies in East Africa, let's move on to the states and stateless societies in South Africa. And one of the meaning of this stateless societies is that it is the group of independent villages organized by clans and led by a local ruler or clan head. So in stateless societies, there is little concentration of authority. So most positions of authority that do exist are very limited in power and are generally not permanently held positions. And social bodies or social bodies that resolve disputes through predefined rules tend to be small. Status societies are highly variable in economic organization and and cultural practices. So basically, status societies has a clan, is a clan, or baga is a clan. There's a clan leader. If you know the if you know the game of Clash of Clans, it's like that. We have a clan. There's a clan in which they are into that kind of place to where they belong is a status societies, and they have the clan leader. So one of the well known is the Zambezi River. So in Zambezi River, it is can be found in the grassland region. So it's a mixed economy of farming, cattle herding, and also you can see the villages that surrounds a wall. So it surrounds a wall for them to be able to protect their domestic animals to the beast animals that surrounds the outside of the wall. So that they build those wall. They build those walls to protect their animals. So after that, after that they become the independent. They began to consolidate. So as they consolidate, one of the groupings came the first states, which is the Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe became the wealthiest and most powerful city or state in the region. So it prospered from the gold trade, but this gold trade was ended up in the court of um, Kublai Khan. So Kublai Khan is the emperor of China. So the ruins of Zimbabwe's Great Wall has been illustrated as the kingdom's power and influence. But then after it, the Zimbabwe's Great Wall was been abandoned. Why? It is because of some of the overgazing of natural disasters like drought and crops failure. So as from the stateless society, it also consolidate to state. It also consolidate to the first state of Africa, the um, which is the Zimbabwe. Na? So now let us move on to the part 3 of this presentation, which is the African society and culture. So African society based on the extended family. So it was based on extended family, in which it with the people living in a rural village. So mostly Africans are into the common traditional beliefs, customs and religion, in which this through unique music forms and storytelling, the rich cultural heritage of Africa was passed down to our generation to the next, which influence the culture, the world culture today. So now we will talk about first the aspects of African society. So African society composed of aspects of African society is composed of 5. These are first the king and subject. So the relationship between king and subject in many African states helped both sides. Merchants received favors from the king. The king treasury was filled with taxes paid by merchants, and it was certainly to the benefit of the king to maintain law and order in the kingdom so that the merchants could practice their trade. So the king and subject. So in Asian countries, if the Asian countries have the royal family and aristocrat isolated themselves to the rest of the people, in the side of Africa, the kingdom and the people was not great, because frequently the king will announce a viewing in which these people will voice out their complaints, but then the king still at the top, at the high, and the subject were in the below, or in the low class. So that's why this is the relationship between the king and the subject in Africa. So next we have the family and lineage. So the family and lineage, and so the relationship, so in the family and lineage, it involves extended family. So it's the common level of family in Africa is extended family, in which it made of grandparents, parents, childs, and family independence. So in that case, if this family were combined, their extended family of units combined, it became a lineage group. So for example, the lineage group like in China or in the Philippines, the elders became the members, or the high the high the high the elder member became the highest have the highest position, and the other members will support it. So ibig sabihin, um so the family and lineage before, so the lineage group provided mutual support for all the members. So members of extended families and lineage groups were expected to take care of each other. Like in the Philippines, an elder groups and the other members of the group will take care of each other. And in Africa, it's like that. And about the lineage group taking care of each other as a family, as an extended family. So now we have the third aspects of African society, which is the role of women. So the role of women, there were some key differences between the role of women in Africa and elsewhere. However, in many African societies, lineage was based on the mother rather than the father. In other words, these were matrilineal societies in which descent is traced through the mother, rather than patrilineal societies in which descent is traced through the father. So if here in the Philippines we use the surname of our father, in Africa they uses their surname of their mother. And also when they give birth and the child grow, they will be in terms of knowing their history, they need to be attached, or they need when there's about their skin, about their skin and about their mother, they have the child in Africa were attached to this kind of matrilineal society. They are attached to their mother, unlike in the Philippines that we are into our surnames father, for our surnames, our father's surnames. So next, the role of woman is subordinate to the men, because the woman in Africa has the responsibility to raise the child, to have a child, and to increase the size of the population, while the men is responsible for hunting and exhibits hunting for them to for them to eat, to survive, and that's the role of the men in Africa before. So next, we have the community education and initiation. So, community education initiation, in a typical African village, a process existed for educating young people and preparing them to become part of the community. So, both boys and girls will be raised by their mother to teach introduction of life. Then later on, they will be sent into separated houses where that place will be their learning ground regards to their role. So, after they will be raised, both and girls will be raised by their mother until the age of 6. They will be those learnings are the learning there's learnings is about family history, the language, and also the songs that have a meaningful story about their lives. So as they mature, and after that they will be separated. Boys will goes to the house of men, while girls will goes to the house of women. So the house of men, or the father, will take the charge, or will focus on the son's education, like hunting, fishing, building houses, and many more, in which it will serve as an introduction or a learning on how the young male will be awakened when it comes to the natural world, how to survive. While in the other hand, the young female will be focused. Young female will be held, or will be guided by his mother, who is focused on his daughter's education. So by means of how to work in house, how to work in fields, and how to be a good wife or mother, and also when it comes to the how to they will be awakened, or they will be introduced about what is the marriage and having a family. So in that case, the as they matured after that, they began, young female and young male know how to work with their environment. Like young female, or the female will be known how to uh, to take care of their brothers, their sisters, and also they need to attend marriage ceremonies and funerals, because that's one of the responsibilities of women there. Then in and when it comes to men, they start to build houses, and also they're very well known when it comes to exhibition of hunting. So after that, after they go to the transition of their over puberty, they will be initiated. So mean to say, they will be initiated as part of the method of African culture, in which they will be able to see to be um if it's validated, or um to be officially part of the community. It's part of the culture of Africa, in which initiation will dictates that you will be the part of the community. It's just like that. So next, we have the last aspects of African society, which is the slavery. So slavery in Africa this time was very difficult, as they involve in different forms of practices, such as being sold, forced to become a soldiers, domestic servants, working in farmlands, and etc., in which it widespread all throughout the Africa. So as we know, the slavery in Africa was started in the Europe. Started in the arrival of Europeans. But then, the real fact is that the slavery in Africa was been practiced before in ancient times. And ancient times were the Berbers. As I said earlier, Berbers is for trades, but also they are raiding farm villages for to them to capture people who are some of it to make servants. So these servants before are criminals, mangungutang, and also they are the people who are very poor when it comes to the farm village. So in this case, they'll be able to become or captured to become the servants. So some of this is being sold across the Mediterranean Sea, and also they are being a domestic servants in the wealthy family, in the home wealthy families. But then so both of this, being sold and also being the domestic servant, is to one of the common slavery in Africa. So aside from this, it also involves the slavery when it comes to very violent actions. But for example, here in the Philippines before, in Spanish era, we have this what we call the Polo y Servicio. So as the Spaniards came into the Philippines, the farmers, the poor ones, and our ancestors before became the became slaves, and after that they don't receive any care, any good treatment at all, because they are just the low class, or they are treated by Spanish as slaves, as servants. And in Africa, it also has kind of a labor force, or sapilitang paggawa, for them to serves the people, or serves the higher authority. So in that case, there's a still advantage, or still a good side of slavery in Africa, which is you are blessed and lucky if you will, as a slave, as a servant, you will be in a royal family, you will be putted in a farming village, because in a very wide farming village, because it has a decent condition, unlike the others who are very violent. It's a decent condition, you have decent, undecent, and comfortable atmosphere. But then you will be still a servant. But the difference is beyond the other practices of slavery. You have a very condition when it comes to for being a servant, and for being a servant in the royal family in Africa. And so this is the 5 aspects of African society. So now let's move on to the religious beliefs in Africa. So the religious beliefs in Africa was very broad. So as we know, it is different from the other countries. So the religious belief in Africa. So early African religious beliefs varied from place to place. So most African societies share some common religious ideas. One of these was a belief in a single creator of gold, of God rather, and also the religious beliefs of Africans impact all aspects of their everyday lives, including their food, work, and family life. They believe in both good and bad spirits, and good spirits would protect them, while bad spirits could make them ill or make them misbehave. But first, one of the religious belief that Africa have is that, for example, in Congo we have the Yoruba people, which is which can be found in Nigeria, in which these people believe about the creator of God will send a what we call the Oduduwa. So Oduduwa is a son, creator son of God that will be sent from heaven. So Oduduwa, this kind of Oduduwa will be will is one of the one of the belief of Yoruba people. So this Yoruba religion was practiced by many slaves transported to Americas. So another religious belief in Africa um is the belief of the Ashanti people. So Ashanti people, they believe about this ship a supreme being which is called Nyame. So this Nyame was this it's kind of superior being, supreme being that they are there worshiping, and they are believing in this kind of spirit because they know that it has a different purpose. It is for rainmaker, and also it brought sunshine. So aside from those two I am mentioned, they also believe that the creator of God lived on earth, but suddenly he left because he was disgusted by the actions of human beings. So that's why they also believe that kind of fact, that are the kind of belief that the our creator of God the creator of God left them because of their actions as the human being. And another one is the very common, the rituals in Africa, in which these rituals we have the special class of diviners. So they are the foreteller of events in which they are it's derived within the supernatural forces. And also they believe about this because they knew that worshiping or doing this kind of ritual will make their plans, or will make their life will make their field having a bountiful harvest. So in this case, they became into rituals since then. But until now, I think in Africa it became dominant and dominant. So another key element in the religious belief on Africa is the ancestors. So they believe in ancestors. They believe that their ancestors rather um, have attached to gods. So they are very close to God's ancestors. That's why in Africa there have religious, or we have the religious ceremony or the ritual ceremonies about the ancestors, because they believe they are closer to God. So even good or evil, this spirit of the spirit will came. The power of influence for good or evil lives on the descendants. So it having this kind of ritual or belief in ancestors to makes them one of their religious belief that they want, they're embodied as an Africans. So another one is the believing about afterlife. So they believe about two stages of life, which is live on earth, people live on earth, and second is afterlife, which are soul, if which the soul um, floating in the atmosphere of within the eternity. So, and lastly, one of the religious belief in Africa is the rise of Islam. So as the rise of Islam, the Africans' religious belief became challenging, but at the first place it was not replaced. But there's a process in which it enables to bring the Islam, and that is by means of trading. So the Muslim merchants start to introduce this kind of religion to many people in Africa. But then it was conversion of individual. I mean to say it's a converted, not for all, but for all individual. So in that case, early rulers don't want to convert in this kind of new faith, but they are welcoming when it comes to the Muslim merchants, and so they still don't want to allow their citizens, their subjects, followers to become to adopt this new faith. But later on, there's a first ruler who converted into Islam is in the royal family of Gao. So, and later on in the grassland, near the near the south of the Sahara Desert, the people there accepted Islam. And after that, in the Islam also spread in the East Africa. In East Africa, where lowland peoples learned to adopt this kind of new faith. And also, having the Swahili culture emerge, many members of the upper class also accepted this kind of religion. So, in some way, of course, the beliefs of Islam and the African religious belief conflict, goes against with each other, as the Islam reject the spirit worship of the of Africans, including the rituals, because they think it is this kind of practice is not relevant for them, because as we know, Islam have different kinds of a different kind of the way of how they will worship creator God. So likewise, Islam's insistence on distinct roles for men and women, like some of the part of Africa where like a Muslim, and those part of Africa is still up to this day going this kind of outfit where it was adopted from the Muslims. So much for that, for the religious beliefs of Muslim. And we will go to the last portion of this topic, which is the African culture. So African culture in early Africa, as much for the rest of the world at the same time the arts. African culture expressed in its arts and crafts, folklore and religion, clothing, cuisine, music, and languages, expressions of culture and abundant within Africa, with large amounts of cultural diversity being found not only across different countries, but also within single countries. So basically, one of the most well-known culture in Africa is art, including painting, and literature, and also when it comes to music, which is this tree serves as a meaning of serving religion. So in this case, this tree became one of the dominant culture in Africa, and also it was meant to express religious conviction. So in the earliest time of African, the most famous example will be the Tassili Mountains in the Sahara and in the Central Sahara. These paintings, or some of these paintings, shows how the people, the early Africans live, and early African lived like hunting, fishing, like cattle herding, and eventually going to trade. So aside for this painting, we also have wood carvers, in which wood carvers were into carving of mask and spirits, rather mask and statues, which it depicts, or it involves this kind of depiction of God's spirits or ancestral figures. So it is kind of spirit powers of the subject. So that's why many and it can be involved into the religion, as this it is these statues that wood carvers have created became the Africans would like to worship with. So aside for wood carvers and painting, music also will become the dominant part of Africans because it is serves as for the religious purpose. So Africans dancing, as we know, has a heavy rhythm beat. It's a heavy rhythm beat. So it strongly influenced modern Western music. So as we if you will notice in the YouTube in YouTube, watching some videos about Africans news feed in Facebook, you will see how they are into dancing. They are dancing in a fun way, but those funny ways was not funny for them because those kind of dance serves as a purpose not just in dancing but a religious purpose and also for social purpose. So as it influenced the Western music, it also presents the spirit expressing themselves through dancing. So that's, as I said, it looks funny when they're dancing, but then the way they dance, it has a symbolized or they're representing themselves as the spirits. So next, African music also serves a social purpose. So it was used to pass on the young people information in terms of communicating. If communicating, because back then, the literature or written language was not used for Africans, but in terms of music, they communicate. They starting to communicate with each other, and also it transmit um it transmit the community into traditions where generation to generation, the music became their one of the language, part of their language, because in music they will be able to communicate with each other even though they are not into a written language. They, in terms of music, they can communicate with each other and they can interact frequently. So in terms of African music, the wood carvers and painting, as well the other for our storytelling and folklores, became the dominant part of the African culture. So and in that case, that will be all for the African culture, and that will be the end of the topic to be discussed here. So for the last portion of this presentation, my insight about this topic, which is entitled Early African Civilization, is that I could say that it is the fact that African continent have a very rich when it comes to historical events, as well as the system, the culture, and the society that they have. So from the start, coming from the start, the impact of geography in Africa, the impact of geography in Africa opens the passage to the development of understanding what is really affects the way people live there, and also the development of civilizations. So also that the kingdoms that placed a vital role in highlighting the early trading system before, and in Africa, as well as the system of societies, and every part of Africa, along with its culture, the customs, their beliefs, and many more, where the people get used to this kind of kinds of living. So all of this have very meaningful, that gave us an in-depth understanding on how we will dissect the important informations or the important scope that contribute to the sense of development of and in Africa, which still being used to up to this day, or which still can be observed and treasured up to the present time, that we will observe in many different ways. About, we can say that we can describe Africans like this, like that, but knowing knowing what and how Africans emerge, and how the historical events hiding behind the continent of Africa was really important, because it will awakens us to another way on how we will look upon the culture, the society, and the land that the Africans are currently in. So that will be all for my topic presentation. So Thank you for listening and watching my report. And now, once again, I am Brendth Constantino, signing off as your reporter for today. Thank you, God bless, and keep safe.